The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily represent those of this station or its management.
It's time now for Where You Live with Gene Sullivan, the show that deals with the news and events that affect you the most. Whether you rent or own, live in an HOA, single-family home, or an apartment building, Gene will tackle the issues right where you live. So, from the True North Painting Studios, here is the original man of steel, Resolve himself, who stands for truth, justice, and the association way. Here's Gene Sullivan.
Good morning. Welcome to Where You Live. I am Gene Sullivan. I'm broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. When you're looking for the right painting contractor, what do you look for? Isn't it someone who will respect you, your time, your property, and your budget? That's what you can expect from True North Painting. Find out more about this exceptional company by going online at truenorthpainting.com. That's trunorthpainting.com, or give them a call, 952-831-1433. I'm also brought to you by the great folks at Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. I also want to say good morning as well to Chris Wider Puberty. How are you doing, Chris?
Good. How about yourself, Gene?
I'm great. Can you remember the last time you were greatly offended by something?
I don't get offended easily, but I can think of some times, yes.
You don't get offended easily?
Not really. I kind of think it kind of bounce off my back, fortunately.
Okay, so is that everybody in your family that way too?
Pretty much. Really?
Okay, so it's probably just the way you've grown up. Also, probably a choice that you make.
A little bit of both. Just kind of let it brush right off.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think there are a lot of people that have a hard time with allowing things that they disagree with just rolling off their back. And one thing that interests me is that we seem to live in a society nowadays where instead of being able to say to someone, you know what, I just disagree with you, we want to go to that place where we say, I'm offended, because somehow if we're offended by what a person's saying, not just disagreeing, that somehow is going to trump your position. And I think that, unfortunately, we lose a lot in civility when we can't discuss things that we disagree with. So, therefore, on the show this morning, I am going to take some time to go through a person who has been a person who's received our newsletters for some time now, who takes issue with me on my last newsletter that I wrote, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit here this morning. So let's, without further ado, go and begin with property management in the news. Property management in the news is brought to you by Home Furniture and Abbey Floor Coverings. Their showrooms are staffed with professionals who will help you choose what you need to fit both your lifestyle and budget. Whatever you need, chances are they'll have what you're looking for. If you wish to avail yourself of special pricing you won't find anywhere else, all Where You Live listeners can call Customer Service Coordinator Lori Matson at 952-224-2663. So the news this morning, let's make it the email that I received from someone who is a subscriber to our newsletter, and said that she took a great issue with the last one that I wrote. In the August-September issue of What's New, I wrote an article entitled, A Reasonable Accommodation? Not for Everyone, talking about the issues that arise today in condominium associations, especially, where they have a no-pet policy, and then you have issues with people who come in later with a claim that they now need a pet as a companion animal. And so let me begin by reading the letter that the person sent to me, and it says, I felt compelled to inform you that your newsletters are doing your company no favors. I recently read your August-September edition. I don't know why. I've never bothered to read them before and was appalled by how one-sided and thoughtless you are. Your article entitled A Reasonable Accommodation Not for Everyone was both presumptive and unprofessional, to say the least. Now, I know the person that wrote this is greatly offended because, as I mentioned, it begins with a dig. Instead of just saying, I disagree with you, Gene, with your view on this subject, it's, your newsletter is really worthless. Let's see. How about I'll call you a name, we'll call you unprofessional. I will place a value judgment on you. You're thoughtless. Why is it that we just can't seem to just say, I disagree with you? Can we have a thoughtful discussion about where we are on this position? It seems to me we've lost a lot of that in our society. Isn't that what it is that we really disdain about Congress today? Isn't it the idea that people on both sides of the aisle do grandstanding instead of having a thoughtful discussion of issues? And it's unfortunate that that has to take place because, like I said, it's almost as if by the idea of saying, I'm offended, you're trumping the idea or notion that the other person has with their position. But in this particular case, I think the individual misunderstood the newsletter that I wrote about a reasonable accommodation. In there, if you haven't received it, you certainly can. You can give us a call at New Concepts at 952-922-2500 during the week. Ask for Lori. She'll make sure that you start receiving your subscription either electronically or by mail. But in that newsletter, our last issue, I talked about a specific case where a gentleman specifically went to looking for a place to live. He knew that he was highly allergic and very sensitive to any kind of pet dander, any pet hair at all, and he looked for a homeowners association, a condominium where they had a no pet policy because in the words of his doctor, this gentleman needed it just for his well-being in being able to get by from day to day because he was highly allergic to any kind of animal. So he did his due diligence, but what happened was in this particular case is that another individual who owned a home there later determined, said, you know what, I think I need a pet and I need it as a companion animal for my mental health. And in that newsletter, I don't make any judgments about that individual who needed the pet or saying that they were just lying, but I did raise up a question, and that is when you have competing interests of people who are both claiming a right, which one supersedes the other? Because clearly this person who wrote me said, Mr. Sullivan, it's your job as the management agent for the association to disclose that pets could be allowed for those requiring service companions, even though the governing documents say no pets. So she is making a statement saying, you know what, if there's an onus or responsibility, isn't it on the management company to say, hey, wait a minute, folks, even though you've just read your governing documents, you're doing due diligence before you're purchasing a home in a homeowners association. And even though they make a claim and make a statement of something that should be true, you can't count on that it could change. That's what she's saying, that really due diligence needs to be put on the management company. They should have known better and should have said, hey, look, don't believe what you read. things could change. If you have no pets, it could be the case that we have pets. And I'm wondering to myself, isn't there another way that this could be handled? Another way that could be where things could be done and looked at that's a little bit more civil? What do you think? Do you think that that's possible? I do believe it is, but I know that we need to take a break right now, so we're going to go ahead and do that. But when I come back, I'm going to address this issue of how, when you have competing rights in a homeowners association, how can you deal with something in a civil manner and possibly work to live and compromise with one another? That and so much more after these messages.